Hello, my name is Kevin Daniels. I own Fix Hardware, and this video is the second in a series of videos I've been thinking about doing and have been asked to do for many years. It seems like the right time, so here we go. If you haven't watched the first where I talked about material selection when choosing bolts and anchors, for that matter, hangers, regarding plated steel, stainless steel, titanium, please take the time to do that. That said, this should hopefully be a great tool by itself. Today I want to address bolts and bolt choices specifically. There's two different categories as I see it: mechanical type anchors and glue-in chemical type anchors. Obviously, the most popular here in the United States are mechanical type anchors based on a construction background. I'm a general contractor. I've been placing bolts my whole life. And you know, the first bolts that we started using in rock climbing were obviously construction anchors of varying types and quality. Mechanical anchors, glue-in type anchors are, as far as I understand, more of a European type product. They're used a lot more heavily over there. They have a lot more limestone over there, and it's definitely a more suitable product. That said, there's a lot of overlap here in the U.S. We've got a ton of cliffs here that glue-in bolts and products are really the way to go. And it's kind of been slow going, but I think that that trend is changing, and I'm super psyched about that because it's a great product, and we'll talk about that product. The first mechanical bolts, and I'm going to call them mechanical bolts because I believe they are, that I experienced was at Joshua Tree in Idlewild, Southern California, growing up and living here and being introduced to climbing at those areas. And for the most part, what I was climbing on and dealing with were 1/4 inch and 5/16 button heads. I actually still have some 5/16 button heads. I could probably sell these to my friend Bob Gaines for about $10 a piece. I probably should. That said, for years, leaper hangers, SMC hangers, and button heads, you know, 1/4 inch in diameter, split shaft, 1 1/4 to 1.5 inches in length were the standard in, you know, Yosemite, Idlewild, probably even the East Coast. I wasn't climbing in those areas at that time, but it was a great bolt in that you could climb into a stance or use a hook, bust out your hand drill, and fire in a bolt relatively quickly. And to be honest with you, the things worked well. They worked well. I do think they have a pretty short lifespan. But that said, for years, climbing at Joshua Tree every weekend, we'd go climbing and we'd fall all day long, multiple times on these things. We'd fall off, we'd lower to the ground, we'd start again, we'd fall off, we'd lower to the ground. And it was just kind of a given that these things worked, and they did work until one day one of them, I'm belaying my buddy, he falls, and he's kind of like, whoa, lower me down, and he kind of was freaking out. He almost down climbed, and one of these bolts, this particular combination, this button head and this leaper hanger, it had come like 3/4 of the way out, and it was kind of just wedged in the hole. He got to the ground and he's like, dude, that fucking bolt, you know, came out. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm yarding on it, and it was still in there. But I went to the top, wrapped down, and sure enough, I got down to it and just kind of unlevered it and pulled it out with my hand. And that day kind of changed everything to a certain degree because it was the first time I realized that these bolts aren't always going to work. Since then, I've replaced, placed many bolts all over the world, all different types of routes. I participate in all aspects of our sport and have actually a lot of experience. And so let's talk about some bolts. These are the first ones, as I said, that I dealt with. This is a larger 3/8 inch diameter, probably about 2.5 inch split shaft bolt. It's a good bolt, but it does a lot of damage to the rock when you're placing it. It can do a lot of damage, and it definitely has some limitations. There's also a couple rivets here, actually machine heads, a lot of aid lines and such in the valley use historically 1/4 inch bolts like this, or a machine head, and you would use a rivet hanger of some sort. The next to really come into play that I saw was Rawl, a company Rawl at the time made a concrete fastener. There was a bolt that was referred to as the 5-piece. I don't know if it was its actual name, but that's basically this bolt. And there's actually 6 pieces to it. That said, maybe 10 years ago, a company Powers purchased Rawl, and they now call this the Power Bolt, aka 5-piece. But this is probably the most widely used bolt in the United States for rock climbing and affixing hangers, excuse me, anchors and such to cliffs. This is a 3/8 inch model. They make a 1/2 inch model. There's some good things about them, bad things about them. We'll talk about those in a minute. The next bolt that I became aware of, the same time period as this, was more of a wedge bolt or a stud type bolt, where you're dealing more with a solid 3/8 inch threaded on one end piece of steel, in this case stainless steel, 304 stainless, and you've got a taper on this end, and around that taper is basically a sleeve. So obviously, you know, you pound this into the hole, the sleeve stays in place, you turn the nut, it draws it out of the hole, some expansion occurs. I'll get into all of the placement, expansion process in the next series, addressing each one of the bolts. But this wedge type bolt was the next type that I became aware of right around the same time as this. Metolius for a little while made a bolt they called the SS bolt, and honestly it's probably one of the best bolts ever made. It was designed specifically for climbing. It's all stainless steel. They made a 3/8 inch version. This is a 1/2 inch version. The thing I really like about it is the 1/2 inch version uses a solid 3/8 inch stainless bolt, threaded bolt. Piece of stainless, tubing, split and gnarled at the end. And then the nose cone of this is brass, which is a really resilient material. Doesn't corrode like other metals do. It's a little softer. In my opinion, Metolius was way ahead of its time when they came out with this bolt to accompany their stainless steel hanger, one of the first hangers made. And it's kind of a shame that it didn't catch on when it did. It was a little expensive. Climbers have a hard time spending money unless it's on something that they get to keep. This is a great bolt. My hat's off to Metolius. I wish you guys still made them. I wouldn't probably be selling all this stuff and would have gone climbing a lot more. The last wedge bolt that I have is a bolt that Fix makes, maybe a 10 or 12-year-old design. It's a 3-piece bolt, same type of wedge concept, but I like this bolt for some particular reasons. It's, again, a shaft, 3/8 inch shaft, tapered at the bottom, a sleeve, again split for expansion. The threaded end and the nut is exposed. As you tighten it down, it draws that shaft out of the hole, creating expansion in the hole. There's some benefits to this that we'll talk about. Those are the mechanical bolts. Now that we've kind of addressed those, I'll give you some of my likes and dislikes in regards to those. Before we even move forward with that, I want to throw in my 2 cents again from the previous video about mixing metals. If you have decided based on, you know, the information in the material selection information video that you're going to use a plated steel bolt, I'm going to ask you to use a plated steel hanger. If you're using plated steel bolts, you're probably doing so based on some costs. Might as well use a plated steel hanger if you're going to use a plated steel bolt. It helps eliminate the galvanic corrosion issue and save you some money, and it's what we need to do. Don't mix up these metals, guys. It's been going on for a long time. We need to stop doing that. Please do so. That said, if you're going to use a stainless steel bolt, use a stainless steel hanger. Also, If you're going to use a bolt of a 1/2 inch in diameter, what I want you to use, please, is a hanger with a 1/2 inch hole in it. I'm a general contractor, like I said. I've been placing bolts forever. I've talked to the manufacturers, the sales reps for Powers, Hilti, what else? Redhead, everything that's out there. And consistently, the specifications the manufacturers are giving us for these products are based on using 1/2 inch bolt. The item or affixing needs to have a 1/2 inch hole in it. I never have, as a general contractor, gone to set an appliance, maybe an AC unit, hang some unistrut, anything, and taken apart a 1/2 inch 5-piece bolt and used a 3/8 inch or 10 millimeter hanger like this and put it all back together. That's never been done as far as I've seen it on a job site, commercial, residential, whether it's a union job, non-union job. That's not what's done. It's been what's happening for many years because we wanted to use a larger diameter bolt and no one was making hangers with 1/2 inch holes in them. I started making hangers with 1/2 inch holes in them about 10 years ago, and it's been really hard to get people on board that program. Time and energy and money has been put into those molds. Please start using those products for your 1/2 inch bolts. So, mechanical bolts, sleeve type, wedge type, some historical type, but good for backcountry routes. You're going to go into the backcountry, put up a route, you're hand drilling. I still use these quite a bit in the Sierras. They work great. Let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of these different bolts. And in the next series of videos, I'll talk about the actual installation of these bolts. How to go about doing them, proper do's and don'ts, making sure we don't damage them through the installation process, things like that. Based on the rock type, which would also be one of your decisions in regards to stainless steel or plated steel, the rock type is going to dictate what type of bolt we should be using. Mechanical anchors, for the most part, will work in any quality stone, granite, a gneiss, a conglomerate, anything that is compact and fairly dense, concrete obviously. When you start dealing with limestones, sandstones, pocketed stones, that is when you want to start thinking about possibly a glue-in, or you want to for sure be using a sleeve type bolt. And as the rock gets softer, you're going to want to increase the diameter of that bolt. And increasing the diameter of the bolt, what you're going to do is you're going to have more surface area contact. And what I mean by that is, we pound this whole bolt into the rock. And really the area that's making contact, once we tighten it down to the proper specification with our torque wrench, is this area in here. And we could be talking about an area maybe a 1/2 inch in width, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending upon the quality of the rock, and maybe some pockets or something in the rock. But actually not that much. 1/2 inch isn't a lot as far as the depth that's making contact, but the diameter of that hole, you're going to have that 1/2 inch all the way around. So when you're dealing with softer rock, what I tell people is increase the diameter of the bolt. Go to a 1/2 inch bolt. If it's really crap rock, go to a 3/4 inch bolt. If you're going to drill a 3/4 inch hole, really the thing to do is just step up into a glue-in and really get an anchor that's going to last forever in there. Back to this guy. This product, like I said, in a softer rock is the way to go, a sleeve type bolt. I really like the Metolius bolt because it has the brass nose cone. It's extinct, can't get it. I have a bunch of them, and I don't know who else does. The Rawl 5-piece is a super common bolt. The thing I don't like about the Rawl 5-piece is the fact that what we're dealing with is a threaded end of this bolt that's entering this threaded cone, and this mechanical activity that's happening that's creating this is buried inside this hole, and we can't see it. We don't know what's going on, and that in itself, when I've removed bolts, raw 5-piece bolts, and inspected them, a lot of times where I'm seeing corrosion and issues is in this nose cone and is in this last 1/4 inch of bolt. And when I really think about what is holding this whole piece together, we may be talking about 3 or 4 threads, 5 threads at the end of this bolt. If it's a 1/2 inch and you've added a hanger to it, it could be even less if you're dealing with some hard rock. It's one of the reasons why we shouldn't be using 10mm 3/8 inch hangers with 1/2 inch bolts. Yeah, stop doing that. That's one of the limitations I see to these bolts. That's one of the reasons why I work with Fix, and we came up with this 5-piece model, where, as you can see, a lot of corrosion can happen down in this portion of this bolt in this hole, and you've got a lot of material down here that has to actually corrode through before you're going to have any kind of failure. All of the threading, nut and bolt interaction is outside of the hole. With this XXX bolt is a 12mm diameter bolt, and it uses a 12mm diameter hanger. This is all exposed. You can visually see it. You're dealing with one solid 10mm steel shaft with one piece 10mm plus stainless steel sleeve. This bolt is removable. This bolt is reusable. This, in my opinion, is probably the best bolt on the market today. Wedge bolts. There's quite a few different manufacturers. They all are based on the same principle. You've got a threaded piece of rod stock. This is 3/8 inch, 9.75mm. One end is threaded. The other end obviously has a seating area for some sleeves, pressed on sleeves, and then a tapered end that, as this nut is turned up against the hanger and draws the stud itself out of the hole. These sleeves have some dimples on them. They stay in place. Excuse me. And again, the expansion takes place in this section of the bolt. So you're looking again at maybe a 1/2 inch, 3/8 inch area where the expansion has taken place. This is a fixed bolt, 304 stainless, was designed specifically for rock climbing. It's a very high quality bolt. The threads in this bolt and all the Fix wedge bolts are stamped. They are not turned. It ensures a stronger thread that is less likely to any fractures and issues during the manufacturing process. J.M. Argelli, Jama, my friend, designed this bolt. Very popular in Europe. In a metric size. This bolt is made specifically for the United States. As I said, it's 3/8 of an inch, 9.75mm. You must use a 3/8 inch SDS drill bit or 3/8 inch drill bit to place this. There's other manufacturers of this bolt that are very similar. Powers makes a stud bolt like this, wedge bolt, aka stud bolt. Hilti has a quick bolt, same principle, very similar. The strengths of all of these bolts are located on the website, Fix Hardware, fixusa.com. Again, I'll address installation of each of these. To reiterate, when using a mechanical anchor, the quality of the rock is going to dictate which anchor to use. The wedge bolts are a great product, a little bit cheaper product than the sleeve bolts. for any type of a high quality stone. Anything where you've got some good compact stone. If you're dealing with granite and such, the length of the bolt is not necessarily going to increase the rating on the bolt. So driving a longer piece of steel into granite isn't going to increase your shear or tensile strengths. It's going to cost you more money, and it's going to have no effect whatsoever on the placement. The bolt is going to either shear or break, or the hanger is going to deform and tear before these bolts are removed from the hole. So if you're dealing with a rock that maybe is not the most compact, most dense, then a little bit longer type bolt with maybe even a double expansion sleeve is an option, or a larger type stud bolt can be used. Sleeve bolts, I think we've covered those. Better for softer rock. Increase the diameter, increase the length if you're really dealing with really soft stone. Areas like red rocks, the fissures, Indian Creek, places where we're using maybe pitons, even driven angles to create anchors. Those are the areas where glue-in type bolts really come into play. There's art to placing these, and we'll cover that in another time, in another video for you. But I've quickly got a few glue-ins here. These are all made by Fix. They're all 304 stainless steel. If you're going to place a glue-in bolt, please use a stainless steel glue-in bolt. Don't use a plated steel glue-in bolt. Chances are this thing's going to be in there forever. So let's go with stainless steel and do it once. There's a few different designs. Typical Petzl design, Fix design, there may be another company. You basically got a solid, usually 10 millimeter, 3/8 inch stainless rod stock that is bent into an I shape, welded, and what you're doing is drilling an oversized hole, filling it with glue, installing this, and I'll get into that later. This here is a glue-in as well, a little bit larger in diameter, 12 millimeter, you need a bigger hole. This also can be used in an indoor application, a gym type application, where you could penetrate an exterior wall, tap into a substructure, and create a very strong anchor. Some glue-ins are also made from more of a wire type material. Also very strong, a little bit different design. I like this type of an eye bolt better than this type of a wire. Again, good products. In closing, one of the things we need to address, and I addressed a little bit in the first video, is quality. All the products on this table right here have some quality control. Powers, is a worldwide company that's making fasteners for the construction industry. They need to meet specifications. They've got a quality product that has a control process. Fix Hardware, all of our products are CEUIA certified. They're made for climbing. There's a process in place to guarantee the quality of these products. When Metolius was making this bolt, I don't necessarily know what their quality control was, but I guarantee you, just looking at it, this is one of the nicest bolts I've ever seen. The same would go with hangers, anchors, any type of hardware we're installing at this point in time for various reasons, liability reasons, access reasons, safety reasons. We need to be dealing with products that are certified, that are tested, that we know are going to do the job that needs to be done. I think I've covered most of the mechanical anchors. I hope I've answered some questions. As always, you can reach us at 760-873-7505. This number there at the office, www.fixhardware.com. My name is Kevin Daniels, and I thank you for your time.